McLaren, a Formula One team I think we all have a love and hate relationship with. Occasionally we can love them with all our hearts, but then also completely despise them not even a couple days later, and this is pretty much how most people feel right now. Throughout the 2024 season, McLaren has been cooking. There's no denying that. They have the fastest car on the grid and the upgrades have been working. But despite their insane car development, everything else in the team has been shit. They messed up their strategies countless times, made controversial team orders which made them look like clowns, and Lando Norris keeps on bottling his race starts, which eventually drove every McLaren fan insane.
You can't keep getting away with it! He can't keep getting away with it!
So as of recent, public perception of the team has been mixed, with a lot of fans just ready to march with pitchforks in case the team fucks up again. But there's one man that has kept McLaren safe from mass hatred, and even brought more respect to the team, and it's none other than Oscar Pastry, baby. Which is why in today's video, after hearing countless headlines about Lando Norris, I think it's about time that we gave credit to Oscar for everything he's done for McLaren, what makes him the absolute unit that he is.
Does someone have a wheelchair?
And of course, how he saved the team. But first, let's talk about how the hell Oscar even ended up here, aka being the McLaren Jesus we all know and love. In Oscar Piastri's journey to F1, before he even joined the sport, you could just tell this guy was talented. In Formula 3, he had brilliant drives going from 15th to 3rd in Monza, stole the championship from Logan the Goat Sargent in the final race, and in Formula 2, he won 6 races and clinched the championship, both done in his first year. And to make matters even better, when coming into F1, Oscar rejected Alpine and signed with McLaren. This man was ready to make a name for himself.
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
I don't think you guys walk away from this.
You just make sure people know what happened here today.
So with such great skills coming to the sport and a promising contract with a top team, the world was ready to see Oscar Piastri succeed in McLaren. And they immediately fucked up. This is gonna be a recurring theme in this video, as in Oscar doing his very best and McLaren just fucking everything up. In Bahrain 2023, Oscar's first race for McLaren, the team was horrifying. The MCL 60 was barely drivable. Lando looked like he wanted to punch a wall. Oscar was forced to retire, and everyone was depressed. This was actually the worst possible start for Oscar. But thankfully, as we all know, the team managed to improve as the season went on, actually upgrading their car properly, unlike Aston midfield, and McLaren's rise immediately became the highlight of the 2023 season. But a highlight that some people didn't notice during this time was just how close Oscar was performing in comparison to Lando. If we take a look back at some of the races in 2023 and look at Oscar's finishing positions in comparison to Lando's, this is what it looks like. In just his first year in Formula 1, he was already able to keep up and sometimes even get ahead of his teammates. And his amazing performances didn't stop here. Throughout 2023, Oscar continued to perform. He had a great race in Japan, almost catching Max Verstappen at the start, pulled off overtakes so impressive that McLaren fans could bust a fat one over it. Got his first podium there too, had the balls to defend against a charging Lewis Hamilton in Monza, which eventually led to Lewis making a mistake.
Gotta get a car like, oh, contact!
And getting not just a sprint win in Qatar, but also a second place finish in the actual race. Oscar Piastri was cooking. Heck, you could say he was baking too. And with Lando alongside him, McLaren ended the 2023 season on a high, finishing P4 in the Constructors and even surpassing Aston Martin. As an Alonso fan, it pains me to say that, but it is what it is. So with McLaren having a great season, with Lando scoring 205 points and Oscar with a solid 97, this actually marked the time where some debates were sparked on who was the better McLaren driver. Oscar was only in his first year in Formula 1 and he was already able to keep up with Lando, who was in his 5th season. And this made a lot of people wonder who was the superior driver. But despite the debates, during this time it was still clear that it was Lando Norris. You know, Oscar was still making occasional mistakes. He would sometimes touch grass, pull off risky maneuvers that gave every McLaren fan mini heart attacks, or just get into incidents that fuck up his race, which 90% of the time happens between him and Carlos the Chili Sainz. So Oscar was a solid driver, but he was still prone to making rookie mistakes, so some still considered him to be well far off from Lando Norris, but at least not until 2024. But before that, if you guys like this video and want more F1 yapping content, I have a Patreon. So after months of consideration, I finally decided to launch it. It will include early access to videos, a chat room, community posts, and of course Patreon exclusive videos or audios that I never plan to upload onto YouTube. like an F1 driver ass tier list. That's right. So if you guys want to support me, feel free to. Link is in the description. And for those of you concerned, don't worry, YouTube's gonna stay the same. Patreon is strictly for bonus, early access content, and a way for you guys to support me after YouTube completely ass-fucked my monetization. But anyways, back to the vid. 2024 has been a much stronger year for Oscar. In Bahrain, he finished 2 positions behind Lando, 4 positions above him in Saudi Arabia, 1 behind in Australia, got a solid P8 in Japan, and went from P6 to the top 3 in Miami, making it one of his strongest weekends ever. At least, until he encountered the Chili Man again.
The safety car timing, obviously, and then, yeah, just kind of unraveled from there. So yeah, obviously a really good day for the team.
I am betting $20 that Oscar probably has nightmares before every race weekend, and it's just Carlos Sainz looking at him like this. But throughout the next races, Imola, Monaco, Canada, and Spain, Oscar achieved 46 points and a podium, making these weekends some of the strongest ones he's ever had. But unfortunately, he's about to have more nightmares than just Carlos Sainz, because after Spain, McLaren fumbled hard. In 2024, McLaren found out that it's a team that can actually compete for the championship. And guess what they did? They turned half of their brains off. One of the ways this team fumbled in 2024 was through Lando. Put this man in pole position, and after turn 1, he's in the back of the grid. Apart from him and Max colliding in Austria, McLaren fans absolutely hated the fact that Lando kept on bottling his starts. To give you guys a clearer picture of just how bad this is, I found this table on Reddit showing Lando's race start performances. I swear I was stunned. Every time he starts from pole, he loses 2 positions, not to mention the 6 he lost in the China sprint after pulling this brilliant move.
Who's gonna get there? Wheel to wheel, the 2 Brits. Off the road goes the pole sit.
Which also kind of reminds me of this.
The swapper on. Look at that. He turned into 3.
I swear, the moment Lando gets a good start in a race, he's actually gonna be unstoppable. That was the only thing nerfing him. And unfortunately, even after all this, McLaren's list of fumbles kept on going. In Silverstone, they messed up the strategy so hard, especially for Oscar. In the middle of the race, it started raining, and while Lando came into the pits, they kept Oscar out for another lap while it was clear as day that the track was wet as shit. And so the guy slipped and skedaddled for way too long on track, which ended up losing him an entire pit stop worth of time. Genuine question, McLaren, did you guys move your strategy headquarters to Maranello? Because this is really reminiscent of another team. And to make matters worse, in Hungary, they screwed up the strategy again. In the race, Oscar was running first with Lando in second, and it was supposed to stay that way. But because basic math is not present in the McLaren pit wall, they pitted Lando first to protect him from a Lewis undercut, but it ended up screwing over Oscar since that was supposed to be his stop, so he got undercut by Lando. Are you guys still with me? If not, that's fine. That just explains how fucked McLaren is. So then with Lando ahead, which was unplanned, McLaren felt that it wasn't fair to Oscar. So they had to guilt trip Lando multiple times into giving Oscar the win.
Okay, Lando, Oscar has just pitted. We'd like to re-establish the order at your convenience. We need you to save more tyres, please, and we do want to let Oscar through. No, he can't catch you up. You've proved your point, and it really doesn't matter. We did the stop sequence in this order for the good of the team. The way to win a championship is not by yourself, it's with the team. You're going to need Oscar, and you're going to need the team. The safety car now, it's going to make this very awkward. Please do it now.
As a result, this tainted Oscar's first win and left out a very salty Lando Norris. Okay, McLaren, real question this time. Are you guys maybe sharing strategy headquarters with Red Bull? Because what in the multi-21 bullshit is this? But after just 3 of these races, McLaren fans were frustrated. And I mean, they were pissed. For good reason too. Oscar's first win was supposed to be deserved, but now people could say that Lando gave it to him. McLaren could have won more races if they got their strategy together, and Lando bottling his race starts also didn't help. Not to mention, Lando also made passive-aggressive comments towards Lewis after Hungary that even made his own fans angry at him.
You had a fast car 7 years ago. 7 years ago. You had it. You had a quick car. You made the most of it. Now it's us. I wasn't complaining, I was just complimenting your car.
Like, I won't give a shit if Team LH gets mad over this, it's kind of funny, but when McLaren fans are pissed, that's when you know to start running. So with McLaren having their fans almost completely turn against them after Hungary, F1 headed to Belgium, and it still wasn't looking any better. In the race, Lando immediately fumbled the race start again, going into the gravel, nearly losing it, and continued to make mistakes which ruined all his chances, his words not mine.
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, turn 1 ruined my chances of everything. I went off in turn 1.
And with all of McLaren's fumbles stacking up, McLaren fans were starting to get angry. And I mean really angry. You guys were ready to drop kick the team. I swear McLaren might just be the only F1 team that can have both of their drivers on the podium and still piss off their fans. Heck, even the Hungary 1-2 pissed me off. And with a performance in Belgium looking like a disgrace, every McLaren fan was boiling. They were frustrated, angry, pissed, and were just gonna lose it. But before they could, one man stepped in to save the day. And as I've said before, it was Oscar Piastri, baby.
The attack here, vital that he gets to the inside of Russell for his Grand Prix. Hamilton is the driver with DRS. Oscar Piastri is in third position. Aaron ducks out of the slipstream, trying to move ahead against Sergio Perez. So going the long way round and taking the position is Oscar Piastri.
Oscar displayed an amazing performance in Belgium. He had a beautiful start, pulled off amazing overtakes on the inside and the outside that McLaren fans busted to again. He might have hit his Jackman a little too hard though, but regardless, Oscar got a P2 finish earned through an impressive performance, and the best part about all of this is that everyone finally noticed it. After Belgium, people finally started to give Oscar the credit he deserved. YouTube comments, Reddit posts, and tweets on Twitter all finally glazed him. Oscar went from being thought that he was not as skilled as Lando to people now thinking that he's on par or maybe even more skilled in just his second season. Now, speaking on who's actually better, I don't want to get into that discussion. I think both of these drivers are great, but there's no denying that Oscar is probably the main reason why McLaren fans are still sane. Without him, Zach Brown and Lando would have been skinned alive. In just one race, Oscar didn't just build up his reputation, but he also saved McLaren from full-blown clownery. And he's also done so much for the team. In the last 7 rounds, including Belgium, Oscar scored a total of 114 points, putting him alongside Hamilton and Verstappen. Plus, if you didn't know, Oscar won in Hungary with a broken rib. I'm actually starting to believe that injuries do equal race wins. Fernando, get ready to break every single bone in your body. But going back to Oscar, his skill wasn't the only thing that helped save McLaren. It was his personality too. One of the main reasons why people didn't want to bash McLaren completely is because Oscar was there and he's just too nice. We all love Oscar. If you don't, consider yourself an op, because this man is pretty much Kimi Räikkönen. He doesn't have much to say, he's badass, just drives and performs, and when he does talk, he's pretty funny.
Ricardo, I believe, is the car behind you. Can't tell if it's Ricardo or Sonoda, but they're 9th and 10th.
I think Sonoda's missing a couple of wheels, so I don't think he'll be doing many laps.
Yes, that's fair.
Or another way that you guys like to describe him, a skateboarding cat. But point is, Oscar is a really likable guy. You know, we can really see his personality shine in a video by the Red Flags podcast, where they interviewed his mom and asked how Oscar reacted to the whole joining F1 thing.
So what? And he goes, I just wanted to tell you that I've just signed my first F1 contract. I'm like, oh my God. Then it dawned on me what that meant. And I was like, oh my God. And he's nodding. And I said, oh my God, Daniel. I love Daniel. And he's like, just deadpan. He's like, yep. Everybody loves Daniel.
The fact that Oscar was more concerned about how Daniel fans would feel having their favorite driver leave than him finally making it into F1 speaks for itself. This man single-handedly saved McLaren not just through his performance but also his character. If that doesn't scream world champion material, I have no idea what to tell you. But concluding this, Oscar Piastri is indeed one of a kind. In just his second season, he's been amazing, pulled off overtakes that champions would pull off, and has just been extracting the absolute maximum from the car. And that's thanks to his natural skill in adaptation. He's great at it, and his level-headed personality allows him to stay rational and perform at his best. He still does have weaknesses, of course, such as his tire management and pace, but if he sorts that, I can easily guarantee you that he'll solidify himself as one of the greats.